Okay. Share the slides. Okay. Can you see the slides?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, so the notion behind this webinar was talk about health and wealth in the new year because a lot of people do resolutions in the new year, but then on January 14th is known as the Quitters Day. So I think January 10th is a great time to do it so that perhaps we can help ourselves and people who are listening not to be quitters, but actually carry it out their goals and objectives throughout the year, make 2025 truly exceptional. I have some personal affinity to these round numbers like 25, like multiples of five. I mean, it looks like a nice number. We can use it as an additional motivation to achieve something special in 2025. So here's some information on my background. I will be moderating the webinar. So the first speaker will be Diana Feinstein. She comes from the financial background, from the high profile risk management areas of Barclays. And so she's very quantitative by nature and background. So I think what sets her apart, and I know that through experience because Diana was my coach for 6 months and really helped me with my objectives. So what sets her apart is that she is very quantitative and she quantifies the results and really helps you come up with the execution plan and operationalize it. Because I mean, anybody can jot down goals, but of course, even writing down goals is super helpful because the research shows that it increases chances of achieving the goals by 42%. So even writing them down is helpful. But then if we stop at writing those goals and we don't really do things like Diana teaches time blocking and especially nutrition, because a lot of coaches just get into coaching and say, okay, let's run with coaching without considering the possibility that there may not be a requisite physiological baseline. Sugar can be really dysregulated. So then you load somebody with very valuable information, but without having assessed for physiological indicators, that time and money and great insights may be wasted. So without much further ado, I'll let Diana present and about her approach and how she works with busy entrepreneurs and professionals to make sure they prioritize their most important asset and maximize return on themselves and their health. Diana, the floor is yours.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Can I share my screen?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Let
So it
me-
says sharing not turned on. I'm going to send the request.
Okay, great.
All
Yeah.
right. All right. Thanks so much for having me here today. We're going to talk about the theory of constraints. So we have 24 hours in a day. That's 1,440 seconds. That's 86,400 opportunities. That's how many seconds like we have in a day. Now, what if I told you that you could produce greater output in 2025 by just focusing on the highest performing health habits bespoke to you? Would you be willing? So here's you. What kind of output do you actually want to see for 2025? Would you like to see an increase of that output? So if we think about time as a series of investments, what is the highest use of your time? And I'm really talking only 9 to 12 seconds. I'm talking 3 minutes. I'm talking 10 minutes. What's going to give you the greatest leverage? And for of the thousands of entrepreneurs that I'd coached over the years, it comes down to a deficiency of protein and movement, believe it or not, protein and movement. So protein is actually the number one regulator in terms of blood sugar regulation. What is blood sugar regulation? Blood sugar actually helps you sleep better, create greater mental clarity, burns belly fat, weight management, chronic disease. Now, if I told you that the average meal takes about 6 minutes to eat, that is less than 0.5% of your day to get all of those benefits in a highly leveraged way, would you be willing? And so when you think about, you know, how do you want to spend your time? What would you do with more clarity in your business? What if you actually treated yourself as like your highest performing asset? How would that fundamentally transform how you approach your clients, the kind of money that you would bring in, the kind of partner you would be in life? Would you be willing to put that time, energy, and attention towards it? So let's talk about what protein does, especially for professionals over the age of 35. Physiologically, your body loses about 2 to 3% of your muscle mass a year. And when you lose muscle mass, you lose metabolism. And when you lose metabolism, that actually, there's a correlation to the amount of visceral fat that you actually have on your organs. Now, when you compound those behaviors over a series of time, let's say you didn't even change your diet, you didn't even change your movement to the age of 35, it's actually just going to be a slow decline because your body has needs that it needs. So your body actually has needs after the age of 35 that it initially didn't have before. So, a big focus for me is really working with women on perimenopause and menopausal symptoms. And so with a lot of these psychological shifts and physiological shifts, the requirements to actually just stay performing at a specific level, it actually has increased, but they haven't actually changed their habits, right? So if I could just get a sense in the chat, what are some business goals that you guys have for 2025? Can you drop it in the chat for me? Excellent. Okay. So great. Be focused. Terrific. I love this. Okay. Now, what if I told you that you could increase your business revenue, increase your effectiveness and your deep focus work just 6 minutes at a time to increase that leverage? Just an investment of 6 minutes. Would you be willing to put in that time, energy, and attention? Right. Okay. So this really comes down to strategy and boots to ground execution. We fall to the level of our habits 95% of the time. We rise to the level of our goals only 5% of the time. And so the question becomes, what is in that gap analysis between I have a goal, I have a strategy. Now, what does my consistent execution look like for that 5x of revenue or that 30 to 6 minutes of like deep focus work? Not a lot, but it really comes down to strategy and the right execution, right? So are there any questions on, protein right now, right? Because that, in all the clients that I've coached to date, this is actually one of their greatest stopping points. Are there any questions?
Yeah, feel
Yeah,
free. Yeah, feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question.
I have a question. So we hear about bad fat and good fat. Is there such a thing as bad protein and good protein, or any protein
I
counts?
love that. I love that. So let's think of it in terms of like a stoplight, right? There's no there's no good food, there's no bad food. Food is just is, right? And so there's food that actually gets us closer to our goals and food that gets us like further away from our goals. So let's say like fat that is like industrialized fat, right? That is found in hamburgers, right? That enhances like flavor profile. Emotionally, that's actually a really great thing. Okay. So as opposed to, let's say, like avocado is also considered a fat. Okay. So that kind of fat will actually produce a 95% rate of return, whereas like an industrialized fat, will produce, let's say, like a 3% rate of return. It's still a rate of return, but would you rather 95% or like 3%? Think of it like a spectrum. And so with fat, like let's say like the omega-3s, that produces brain health. Let's think of it in terms of like behaviors. If you eat an entire avocado, that actually promotes mental clarity. And it doesn't take like a whole lot of cooking time, right? Let's think about olive oil, right? 1 tablespoon of olive oil is great. You know, an entire cup of olive oil for cooking once fried, it actually reduces its efficacy. So, like Vasile said, good debt, bad debt. It all depends.
Yeah, I think one really cool thing that you were teaching people at the demo it's like several months ago was that yogurt, how you make the yogurt and then you put those seeds and you let it stand for the night. I've never thought anything like that because people just grab yogurt and that's it. But the way you're playing with the ingredients to leverage that efficiency, that you can really get out of a seemingly small meal portion, but the way you play with it, like versus just grabbing from the store and containing and still getting those ingredients, but without extra ingredients that you could prep yourself.
Exactly. It comes down to identifying, you know, for your specific health portfolio, what is actually going to give you the greatest return. So let's say like you have the yogurt, which is a really great protein. If you were to put, let's say, chia seeds on top of that, that gives it a really great fiber boost. And when you have that fiber boost, that gives you satiety, that actually puts you into like deeper sleep emergence at the end of the night, and it promotes brain health, all within the same 6-minute execution block. So it's about what does my current baseline behavior look like? And what are some of the things that I need to add into it to produce greater returns for my bespoke health portfolio? So that's a really great question. Okay. Talk to me about, if you can drop in the chat, like what is the biggest constraint that you have in terms of your business for, improving your schedule, increasing your revenue? What is the biggest constraint that you have in your business right now? Is it lead generation? Is it, um, is it marketing? Is it not enough time? If you could drop it in the chat and let's see how we can triangulate that in your health. Lack of process, great. Okay. Oops. Okay. Good. That. Okay. Attention dilution. Excellent. Okay, great. So when I read this, this tells me that there's a lack of strategy, right? So first step is actually understanding, coming from like a place of awareness, like where am I in terms of like, strategically, how do I want to harness my focus, right? And then once you understand, where the lack of strategy is, then what does it look like to then bridge the gap into like consistent execution, right? So in terms of strategy, where's the strategy for getting a better process, right? Where is the strategy for like honing in on your attention? What what's the thought behind that?
Yeah, I think usually, I mean, my goal is to get like 15 hours of training per week, a combination of tactical and personal. And that way, when I really hit the goal, it means that I strategize myself for the next week. But if I don't hit the goal, then I feel I am all over the place because I didn't put the leg work for planning for strategizing the most important projects. So I think it's like Albert Einstein said, if I have a project, I would spend first 90% of time strategizing and only 10% executing. So
And
like,
so,
to me, it goes
yeah.
back to asking myself, am I willing to sacrifice that time for strategizing, which seems like like I may be wasting time because I'm not actually executing.
So what I'm hearing is that there is a subconscious belief that value is tied to doing, as opposed to being.
Yeah, I think, it just even societally, it's like there is so much focus on doing and executing, and then, it's yeah, yeah, so that's a true statement. Subconscious belief that, oh, like I may be spending too much time strategizing, I could be executing something.
And so what can you do to support a shift that actually works in your favor?
I think it's consistently building on that habit, and have the time blocks in my calendar, making sure that I hit that goal. So I would say like time blocking in the calendar, specifying like when I complete 6 hours of my technical training versus 3 hours of personal, 2 hours of networking, and so on.
And what track record did you have in the past that would better support you in that for 2025? What were your support beams look like when you were really successful at it?
Yeah, so I would say like last year I had like sporadic success at that. I would do some of that. So this year I would like to do more of that. So going back to that point of having subconscious belief that I may be wasting time when I'm strategizing, and this year saying, okay, it's I can really implement that rather than think that it will be good for me. So going from sporadic execution to the consistent weekly execution.
Consistency is key. Got that. Awesome. Okay. I want to make sure that everybody else, gets to add value to this presentation. Does anyone else have any other questions? Okay. So I will stop
Maybe
sharing my
I
screen.
has. Hello.
Yes. Hi.
Um, I know, I guess everybody meet this problem when you have like some tasks, like Vasil told us about, that you need to strategize it. And speaking about me, usually such tasks when you really understand that took you like a lot of time and you need to be prepared for it. And instead of doing this, you like doing something easier that you really want to do or like to do.
Mhm.
And then at this point, you have some kind of block in your like mind, brain, I don't know, that you are like blocking yourself of doing this task before it's come to the deadline. And then you just like in rush doing it. Sometimes, of course, you like making some mistakes, and it's understandable. And how to work with these blocks, maybe if you understand,
Yeah.
first of all, of what I mean by my
Totally.
question.
Totally. All right. So let's talk a little bit about protection strategies. All right. So protection strategies are maladaptive coping mechanisms that we deploy or that we use in our day-to-day to keep us safe. Okay. So the three types of protection strategies that actually contribute to these blocks are compete, avoid, and accommodate. There are three: compete, avoid, and accommodate. Okay. I'll give you an example of what each one looks like. So a high compete means my value or how I secure my belonging to society is I must do at all costs. I must do at all costs. If I'm not doing, then I actually lose my belonging in society, right? So that goes back to Vasil's point, right? If I'm not doing, then I lose my belonging in society. Okay? That's protection strategy one. That's one instance of it. Then there is the accommodate strategy. I must overservice or I must people please, right? At the expense of myself, right? Oftentimes we will, overwork for, let's say, like a client at the expense of like our health and our well-being, or at the expense of other clients, because that secures my belonging and making sure that I provide value, right, at the expense of ourselves. Okay. We also have the avoid strategy. Okay. I'm going to ignore that this is even a problem because then that means that I don't actually have to face this monster. That means that I stay the same, and change is hard. And that's where coaching actually comes in. Coaching is identifying, well, what are my mental blocks that stop me from executing in my highest and greatest good? So for an ICF coach, I'm considered like what's called a master health coach. I really focus on the behaviors that are stopping the execution of your greatest and highest good, right? What are the behaviors that I have that actually secure my belonging, but at the expense of like my longer term goals, right? So let's take Vasil, for example, right? I must execute and I must do to secure my belonging, but I'm going to avoid that this is even a problem because that actually keeps me safe. So that's an example of like what a dissecting a mental block would look like. Did that make sense, Alina?
Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, as usual, a lot of work to do.
It is so it is a lot of personal development work. This requires going deep into the subconscious, right? And we as humans, like we're not meant to do this kind of work alone. Being able to like work with a certified coach to actually like reflect back, what is it that my behavior is trying to tell me? What is the underlying need that it's trying to get met, right? If I'm looking to 5x my revenue, right? What are the subconscious like mental blocks that I have in place that are stopping me from like the execution of my greatest and highest good? What is stopping me from like the deep focus work, right? And it could often be like, hey, I'm exhausted and I'm tired because I'm sitting here watching Netflix, right? Um, so it's a very unique process. Vasil and I were together for about 6 months, like really unpacking a lot of this stuff. And you saw a significant increase in his revenue because we were able to like focus in on the blocks and then using a theory of constraint. It's like we were identifying, well, where was the execution stopping, either from a physiological baseline because he was exhausted or from a psychological baseline because there was some subconscious belief that we had to unpack.
Yeah, understand.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you, Diana, for your presentation and sharing these insights with us. I would like to launch one polling question here at the end of. Okay, let's see, health poll. So can you see the poll on your screens? Okay, great. So I got so some, so it's like evenly split, but the biggest share is for getting client work done on time and exercise. Okay, so we'll we'll store that answer and then we'll proceed. Let me resume the screen share. Okay, so the next portion of the presentation is by Lyubomyr Ostapiv. So Lyubomyr has a great deal of experience working with the families and company owners to help them gain clarity and financial objectives and implement the strategies that make sense in their particular cases, creating the right portfolios, and really leading those individuals and their companies to financial success. So Lubomir has a great following on of people whom he helped. He wrote several books on financial topics. So I let him share with us about some of the tips on financial well-being. Lubomir, go ahead.
Yes, yes, thank you, Vasil, and thank you organizing this. I believe it's valuable. It's from different angles. So I'm gonna focus on wealth building, and I try to simplify it to be as precise as possible. But let me first stress the importance of wealth building, and the greatest investor of our time, Warren Buffett, he famously said that you gotta find a way to make money while you sleep, or you will work until you die. So that's about passive income. And it's not that hard, especially in the United States, where so many investment products are automated now. It's myriad of options, and I'm gonna show you a few. As you probably know, and I'm sure most of people on this call already invest in the US stock market. It has tremendous results recently, beating the rest of developed world in terms of performance. And we all know S&P 500, the 500 largest companies in US. But I'm gonna talk today not as much where to invest, where is the next Nvidia, which obviously I don't know. Sometimes it's more luck than analysis, to be honest. I'm gonna talk about something that everyone can do, and that's actually the area we can cooperate with Vasil as wealth and tax advisors. So let's say we have a single person and she makes 100,000 per year. And assuming she's not using any investment accounts, she's gonna pay about $13,000, almost 14, in fact, $1,000 in taxes, and that would be the effective rate, 16%. Of course, if she works with Vasil, she might pay something lower, but about simple tricks, that do not require any consultants involved. So the first and very obvious step is just to use the account called traditional IRA. The limit for the last year of the contribution limit was 7,000. So we see that if this person just invests 7,000, which anyone can do, not depending on a job employee, etc., she will pay less taxes. And if we compare those two amounts, it's about $1,500 saving in taxes. The other good news that those money invested, they gonna go tax-free for many years until she starts to withdraw them after age 59 and a half. So we already lowered the effective tax rate by this simple trick, very easy to open online. The most important point I'd like to stress about using traditional IRA is not just enough to deposit money. You gotta invest in this account. You gotta buy assets on this account so they produce passive income. They work for you, like Warren Buffett said. But let's assume that this person lives in New York and works for one of the big New York companies as employee. Probably 100,000 is not a big number, but still enough for survive for one person, I hope. And she has 401k plan from her employer, and that plan allows to contribute $23,000 instead of 7. This person uses her employee offered plan, and she contributes $23,000. Again, usually employees have the whole booklets, trainings. It's usually very easy to enroll, and the main question always, can I save this money? Can I live for the rest of what's left after taxes and my savings? But we focus on taxes today. So you see the tax saving is considerable now. Instead of 14,000, she's gonna pay $8,781, and the rest goes to investment and goes to work. Also, if we're speaking about New York, and many large and mid companies, they offer something called matching contributions. So not just this person says, but the employer says, oh, you're saving, that's very good behavior. I want to encourage you to save more. So this is the real life example from one of the largest New York headquartered companies. They say, okay, we're gonna match your contributions up to 6% of your eligible pay. And of course, those percentages will be different for employees. Some of them don't have this matching, so it really depends. That 23,000 everyone can do if the employee offers 401k plan. This 6% is just the example. It can differ a lot. But again, just for the sake of example, if she has 100,000 and the 6 is the maximum match, she's gonna get match from employer. So in total, 23 plus 6, she's gonna save and invest 29,000 per year into that 401k plan. And again, this money are going to grow tax-free. So let's just assume what's going to happen in future. But before telling that, for business owners, there are more opportunities using accounts like Solo 401k, SEP IRA. Let's get a little bit more complicated. So I'm not going to focus on those accounts today. Just wanted to let you know that the limits are higher if a person, both the business owner and employed in own business. For example, for Solo 401k, it's $69,000 in 2024. But again, back to the person who invests 29. Let's say she started 10 years ago. She invested 29,000, and you see in 2014 it was kind of steady, maybe grew a little bit, and then in 2015 she invested again 29,000. So it grows first years, it grows mostly by investing new money, the savings. You see the next 2016 it grows by money, but at the end she's gonna get more than $600,000, and that's not just the contributions. And you see, if you take 10 years of contributions, 29,000 is going to be around 290. But if you add investment income to that, and yes, the last 10 years were really great for investors, but again, the money grew and grew and grew, and money on the money make you dividend and interest. So she's gonna have, you see, over 600, and maybe she'll think about retirement at that point, depending where she's gonna live. I used for calculations VT Vanguard total stock market. It's not just US. US is about 65% of that. And US been much better during last 10 years than other developed emerging markets. But for the example, I'd like to focus you not just on US stocks, but on the world stocks. And this VT is the largest in kind single fund, ETF fund. It's traded on the stock exchanges, and there are mutual funds actually that I used in 401ks, totally the same as VT for the total stock market. But I'm showing you this example because it's very simple strategy, just one fund, all world stocks. There are about 10,000 investable stocks that are in this fund. And you see for the last 10 years, the return was 9.33%, which I consider, again, really good. I would say the more realistic scenario would be to expect between 7 and 9%. You see, since inception in 2008, the Greek crisis was going on, and if we take the return from inception, that's going to be 7%. So the realistic expectation for those investments, investing all money in stocks, is going to be between 7 and 9%. And that's pretty much it. It does not require any analysis, any trading on Robinhood. Those investors with 401k plan, they sleep well, which is obviously good for their health. And the best thing that the investor can automate their 401k contributions. So it goes from the bank, from employee to the investment account. And then on investment account, it buys assets due to the strategy that was set. And it's very easy. It might take 1-2 hours per year just, to review this and to make sure everything works as needed. And then at the end of the 10 years, you're gonna have this $600,000. I run YouTube channel for first generation US immigrants. There are a lot of videos explaining different personal finance topics. Some are more complicated, some are very basic. And if you're interested to hear more, you can go to Immigrants Financial Freedom and watch some of my videos. Thank you. And if there are any questions, please ask or write in the chat.
Yes, ask away.
Yeah, we have a command that investor works with Diane, she can make 500K per year. That'd be nice.
How do you harness attention to produce returns? How did you get started? How did you get started in this?
You mean in wealth management?
Yeah.
Well, me personally, I've been doing it for 7 years. I'm in US for a year already, but in Ukraine, we were the first to tell citizens how to invest in US stock market once it became legal.
Hey, Diana, you're muted.
What is your strategy to getting your message out there for 2025? And how can we help you?
Well, you're already helping me by doing this webinar together. We also have a live with Vasil coming up next week. I do videos. I do at least one video per week, and I do short videos whenever I have inspiration and energy. Usually it's about 1 to 2 short videos, 1 minute per week. And I'm open to collaborations. In fact, in my kind of business, most of clients, they come by recommendations. The YouTube scene, it's good, but it's, I guess, have some social impact, not just for lead generation.
Yeah, YouTube strategy takes a very deliberate practice, and it's a long play for the YouTube channel. So I applaud you for that.
Yeah. I wouldn't recommend it to everyone because it's so time consuming.
Yeah. So what is your greatest return on time? I guess it becomes the question. What is the greatest return on time?
I'm not sure how to answer that, but I say in 2025, the activity that was probably the highest return in terms of time invested was making my plans in writing. I use 2 programs, one for operational day-to-day tasks and client tasks, and the other program is kind of more of a visionary goals, what I want to be in life and in 10 years, and what are my goals for the 2025. So I spent about 4 hours doing it on different sets of time. It was not during one day. And I'd say I felt quite accomplished once I did it.
That's excellent. So what I would recommend if you're focused, so I'm a first generation, immigrant as well. Where do they gather, right? And how much time are you spending in those gatherings? That's what really, in terms of like me exploding my growth, um, like where are my clients and how much time am I spending in front of them? Like what is the highest leverage like of my time? And what I realized was when I looked at the ratio of like my time to revenue, the more time I spent in front of my ideal target, the better it was. But the preparation of like how to actually get in front of those people, that was just as important as the time spent being there, if that makes sense. So investing and like researching, well, where is my target market? And it could be honestly like in churches, like spending time in churches, like as part of your lead generation to 5x. That's it.
Yeah, thank you.
I
I've,
have a question. Oh, sorry, Lyubomyr.
yeah, I just wanted to say that that I'm amazed you're a first generation immigrant as well. I guess you understand all the pain points of immigrants really well. Mariia.
Yes, thank you, Lyubomyr, for your presentation. I am taking notes on both, took notes both on Diana and your presentations. Thank you so much, guys. My question is a pain kind of question for many people who reside in America. Many people have debt. Many businesses have business debt. Vasil believes there is no such thing as bad debt. I disagree. But I would love to.
No. I actually made the point that there is good and bad debt, but I believe in leveraging debt. Just to clarify that.
Okay, so I would love to hear your opinion, Lyubomyr, on how to prioritize these dollars and cents that we have. And if somebody has debt, would you rather have that person concentrate on paying it off than investing, or doing it, side by side, or concentrating on one? How would you do that? Thank you.
Yeah, let me give you two extreme examples, but you will understand the point. So the first example, imagine a family that have 30-year fixed rate mortgage and the mortgage percent is 3. They pay 3% of mortgage. So for this family, that is not a problem. And they would be happy to solve this debt for another 15, 20, 25 years. Imagine another family where they use consumer debt in credit cards, and if they don't pay them on time, they'll pay like 26, maybe 30%. It's skyrocketed in the last 2 years. That's crazy. I mean, you can make 26% return even better than S&P 500 by just paying your debt. So with this particular type of family, obviously they need more financial coaching than investment advisor to get out of that. I know Dave Ramsey was big on this topic recently. And there are many situations in between, when debt is tolerable, and even the ratio to income, the ratio to assets, that there can be all sort of analysis, what's the optimum debt for the particular family.
Thank you, Lyubomyr. Here's a Dave Ramsey fan, and after your presentation today, also Lyubomyr Ostapiv's fan.
Yeah, thank you for
you.
this great discussion and providing us with some tips. Lyubomyr, I would like to launch a polling question too. So let me launch a polling question here in one moment. Okay, so let's find the right poll. Yes, somehow I lost my polling feature here, so I'm not exactly sure what that is. But anyway, I will ask you the question. So the question read, what investment challenges would you like to get more guidance on? And the first like A is portfolio allocation, B is tax advantaged accounts, then 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 C, like any other specific investment guidance. So if you could indicate it in the chat, please. Okay. Okay, great. So it seems that mainly portfolio allocation. Yeah, so Lyubomyr says that many people see hot stocks, but the real focus must be on asset allocation and tax strategy. So it's going back to that point in the beginning about like strategizing, we strategize a time, but like here we talk about strategizing the portfolio. Okay, so we'll move on with the presentation, and then the next one is Mariia Khorun, and she's a small and mid-market business attorney. In particular, she focuses on the use of nonprofit structures for tax planning, and on nonprofits with global presence and international affiliates. So she will offer us some insights about the legal strategy and the legal tips for 2025. Mariia?
So much, Vasil. Okay, let me share my slides. Now you see them. Right. Okay. First webinar of the year. Thank you so much for organizing everything, Vasil and your team. I really appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this panel. And like I said, I really enjoyed everybody's presentations, took notes, and hopefully this year will be the year when the notes not just go back to my, on the back of my planner, but actually doing something with the notes. So thank you so much. I wanted to talk with you about some legal updates for businesses, for business leaders, what to look for in 2025, how to prepare. It's an interesting year ahead. Probably lots of changes are going to happen in the country, worldwide. It's definitely interesting. So about me, I am originally from Ukraine, and I work and live in New York City. I'm a big part of my Ukrainian community here and the small and nonprofit community in New York City. Really enjoy being a part of the nonprofit community. Some things that happened last year and that are important for business owners to be reminded, I believe, because some of these updates may have been passed without registering. It's just so much going on in the world, in the country, that we tend to not register important things and rather concentrate on the news lines. So this is just a reminder that in New York there was a very important change that required business owners to have written contracts with their independent contractors, and that's usually a good practice to have a written contract with your counterparty. Now it's at the level of the law here in New York to have a contract, and the amount is not that big. So anybody who provides you a service for $800 and more, you need to have a written contract with them, and the fines can be quite steep, up to $25,000. And so far, I have not seen that the state is, going hard after business owners. They're probably giving some time for people to become compliant and to have agreements, but it's just yet another thing that business owners now need to consider when they're working with independent contractors. Perhaps it's a way for the state to encourage for people to have employees rather than independent contractors, because business owners prefer independent contractors, but we know it's not the preference question, it's the question of classification, whether there is a control of that person or not. Vasil can talk more about it because it's also IRS related test, but states also have their own tests to determine who is an employee, who is an independent contractor. So this may be just one way how New York State encourages small business owners to have employer-employee relationship rather than independent contractor. Another interesting update that happened last year was that the Federal Trade Commission issued a rule to ban fake reviews. And that means that, you know, if your friend or you bought somebody's review and they reviewed, you know, gave a good review on your website or Google, you may be in trouble. So it's worth noting that online presence plays such an important role in this day and age that now we do have the FTC, Federal Trade Commission, regulating this area, issuing that rule. So beware, be careful. You know, sometimes when we work with marketing, as small business owners, when we work with marketing professionals, they promise a lot, and that's what we want to hear. Just forget that, just remember that it's important to have reviews that are verifiable, and not, you know, fake reviews. Okay, next. Some changes that are coming this year. Those of us who consider trademark protection are promised faster processing times. Now it takes around 12 months from submission of a trademark application to the United States Patent and Trademark Office to issuing a certificate of that trademark registration. We are promised it's going to be better timeline, and nothing comes free. There are going to be increased fees for that, $100 to $200 more depending on the application. So this is something to consider. New York State has increased the minimum wage to $16.50 per hour. Again, somebody who has employees in the state of New York needs to consider this. Prenatal leave law. Somebody who has employees who are expecting babies now need to provide 20 hours of paid leave for doctor visit and other things, so that their employees are accommodated. I really like this one. November 26th as Truth Sojourner Day. So Truth Sojourner was originally from Ulster County, and she was an abolitionist, and now at the state level, she's recognized for her contribution. In November 26th, you know, around Thanksgiving, giving thanks also to the leaders of the state, sometimes unspoken leaders, or sometimes those that were in the shadow of other people, and so this is an interesting new day to remember and think about. Beneficial ownership information is just like a crazy ride of a roller coaster. We were supposed to have the enforcement of that Corporate Transparency Act in place. Many businesses filed their reports by the end of the year. Many businesses complied with the requirements of the BOI report. And now, as it stands now, it's not enforced. So you can voluntarily submit your report. Why? I don't know. But you have such an opportunity. With this one, we need to watch what is going to happen, because we don't know. It may be that this BOI will go away, because Trump was opposing it back when it was at the proposal level, and so we don't know how it's going to turn. But for now, you don't have to worry about BOI unless you work, live, have business in New York, and then in a year you will need to worry about submitting your beneficial ownership information, but this time to the state of New York. So New York businesses, residents can relax for a year and then be stressed again coming next next year, in a year from now. Everybody talks about artificial intelligence, its role, what it's going to bring, what it is bringing, what it is changing, and some states already started regulating AI. California, Colorado, Illinois are one of the first states to regulate the use of AI, and they're working on legislation to regulate further, describe what AI is. Same with New York. So New York does not currently regulate AI, but there is a lot of activity and a lot of conversations between assembly people about laws that will regulate AI. So that's something for us to look for updates when they're coming. All right. My first question that I wanted to ask, and I didn't, was to find out how many of you talked with a small business attorney last year or this year on matters pertaining to your business. You can raise your hands or you can say it in chat. Computer is not cooperating with me. Vasil, can you please read what people are saying? Because I don't see the chat function now.
Yeah, so I see like 2024, and I talked with 2025. I would say that I talk to one every day because married to one, and that's the one who is
Busted.
presenting right now.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to see where we stand, but it is important to meet and talk with your business attorney about the updates and your pain points to understand how to run your business legally properly. Next question will help us transition into the next segment of the presentation, and for me, it's always important to not just provide updates, but also provide important information and how we can be helpful to small business owners in their competition in the United States. So one of the things that we do, we'll talk more about it, is supporting applicants with their minority or women-owned certifications. And what these certifications do, once you have one, you can participate in bidding for city, state, agencies such as, for example, Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, airports, federal agencies in contracts. So you can bid for those very good contracts, and the government can be a very good client to have. So in 2015, New York City established a 10-year goal to award $25 billion in contracts to minority and women-owned businesses. What do you think? What year did it meet its goal? Was it 2020? 5 years after? Was it 22? 7 years? Was it this year? Let me know. ABC. And Vasil, do you mind reading the answers, because I do not see them in chat right now?
Yeah. So the only option is 2025, and I would actually side with that too, and that would be my guess too.
Okay, you are pessimistic people, because sometimes cities run better than we think. So it was actually 2022, 3 years ahead of the schedule, that the city granted, awarded this amount of money to minority and women-owned businesses, which is very good news. Some things local, state, federal governments don't do well. This one, we have good statistics, so good news. Thank you for your answers. So this is a consideration for how to be competitive, how to be successful. And like I said, that there are city, state, agency, federal levels of certifications that if you qualify, you can receive that certification and then you can participate in, I wouldn't call it a back door to contracts. I would call it better chances to getting contracts. Even if it is a major contract, there are still these minority diversity goals that grantors, if it's a grant or federal, state, local governments impose, encourage on bid winners to subcontract with those who have this certification. So always a good idea to use it, just like one of the things that can help you, your business, your client's business succeed here. And here we have, again, some good statistic that New York State has surpassed its 30% minority women-owned utilization goal. And even more so, the state increased the threshold for these grants to 1 million, for these contracts to $1 million. So these are significant contracts for small and mid-sized businesses.
Hey, Maria,
Yes.
if you could transition into the wrap up and final remarks, because we already passed time and we want
Okay,
to
so just
keep the
quickly,
webinar.
there is a great value in WBE, MBE, Women-Owned Business certification. It must be minority-owned, obviously, but can have partners. It's a for-profit entity, so no nonprofits for this one. There is an extensive list of documents that need to be prepared. We assist with the preparation of legal documents that pertain to this, to these certifications. And of course, we have trusted partners whom we can refer for business, tax, documentation preparation. For the soccer fans in the room or on the web, 2026 will be the FIFA World Cup, and it will take place in New Jersey too. So the link with QR code leads you to an opportunity to sign up as an interested party in providing goods and services to FIFA. So I encourage your business clients to consider and apply, participate in this amazing opportunity. New York is the home of multiple airports, New York region. So this is, again, another opportunity for small businesses to participate, consider, and it is for minority and women-owned businesses. So take a look, please share with your clients. On the legal level, you need to make sure that you have written agreements in place that protect your business, that help you remain competitive, and those are non-disclosure, non-compete agreements, that you have trade secret protection so that nobody is using your know-how if you did not authorize them. Nobody is learning the list of your clients or your approach to business. Make sure you protect that. And trademarks, those are logo words that associate your services and goods with some words and logos, so that only you can use that word and logo and only you can have that brand. So very important. And like I said, there are hopefully good changes coming with faster processing of those applications. Thank you for your attention, and I hope you found it useful. Let me know if you have any questions.
Yeah, thank you, Maria, for sharing the informative presentation and the actionable tips business owners can take this year to become more competitive. So I hope you enjoyed the webinar, and I'm sorry we went over time. So like next webinars, we'll make sure we keep it within an hour and be mindful of your time. But if you have any questions, I will forward the I will forward the contact information to the participants so that you can ask any of the presenters any further follow-up questions you may have. Thank you for your attention and have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.